So the Marvel Rival community is pretty upset right now, and a lot of players are angry because recently the game tweeted out on the official Marvel Rivals Twitter page saying that hi Rivals, we're going to continue to have the game thrive. We want to say that the game does not use EOMM. If you guys are unfamiliar with what this terminology means, basically it's effective optimized matchmaking, making it so there are going to be games where it's rigged. You are either guaranteed to win the game or guaranteed to lose the game. That's at least how people feel about it. And while I want to say that it cannot ever be 100% chance to win or 100% chance to lose, there is some degree on variance, right? Like, for example, they may put you on a team where they kind of expect you to lose. Whether that is like a 49 to 51 in terms of a difference, or if it's like a 80% chance that you're going to be losing the next few games, I don't know, but we're going to go ahead and dive into the subject. But I'm curious to know how my viewers feel about this, because I think that this is a very big issue in the community. And the reason why everyone is really upset, no one's really buying this. I would say about 90% of players here that are commenting are saying, nah, dude, that's cap. The games are rigged. Now, this person brings up a pretty good point. If you guys have ever played Quick Play, and this all kind of ties into if the game even has effective optimized matchmaking, regardless if it's in ranked or Quick Play, the bottom line is that if you lose enough games in Quick Play, it will give you a bot match. In a sense, right, that is rigging the game experience because you're not even playing against real players, allowing the player to kind of win the game so they don't quit. That's the main concern with EOMM, is to keep you engaged the longest. So it's engagement or effective optimization. There's a lot of different terminology and like words for it, but basically at the end of the day, they're kind of the same thing. Again, the idea is that these games are rigged. Another person saying over here that it might not be EOMM, but it is something. Whether you try to force a 50% win rate or you punish specific types of gameplay, one thing's for sure, the amount of people that can do incredibly well multiple games in a row then have the worst team known to man on their ranked up match. And this is a key thing that I think there is some truth to this, to make it so the player's like, oh, I'm almost there, and then they drop you like 5 losses in a row. I think that there is something to do with specifically your rank up matches that tends to make it a lot more difficult when you're about to rank up. But I want to say that on top of that, again, it depends on the player base, because if there is a forced 50% win rate, no one could ever climb to, top 500 again and again, or climb to, let's say, GM, Eternity, or Celestial. These players that are in the high rank usually can reach it again and again. And if it's a forced 50% win rate, you would never achieve that, right? But there's another thing with Marvel Rivals, is that you can climb with like a negative win rate because you gain way more points than you actually lose, and over the course of time you will eventually kind of rank up, right? But you can see this Marvel Rivals Sentinel over here saying that Marvel Rivals doesn't use EOMM, it uses secret patented system called Guess Who's Throwing. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I swear though, it's like when you're about to rank up, they give you one person that is going to be doing 2 and 10. Like, it's just like guaranteed you're going to get a Spider-Man, you're going to get a Black Widow, or just someone that is like intentionally trying to throw, or you get a team that is dysfunctional, which goes into some sort of form of EOMM. Another person over here saying that you can literally go through rank of people on your team and compare it to the enemy team, and it's often in balance. And this could be 2 different things, because it could be their win and loss streak, but you could also go in and check, like you can see this picture over here, where the rank system over here isn't necessarily as accurate on both teams. Now, this happens and applies in all video games at the highest rank. I remember there were 2 instances in Overwatch where we were in the top 500 / it was at the time Grandmasters was top 500, and I was getting players that were on gold because the queue times would get so long. You would wait like 40 minutes to get a game at the highest ranks, and sometimes they couldn't fill the lobby, so you get players that were in diamond, you would get players in gold facing up against top 500. But there's another thing with Marvel Rivals that you have to consider. Even though these ranks are pretty far apart, the thing is that there's not that many people at the highest ranks, and sometimes it's because, of course, of the new season coming around, and it pushes everyone down several ranks, and therefore it kind of lets the game just put you in those lobbies because it's like, oh, this is your like actual MMR, right? It's hidden. So I think that that is a big thing to kind of look at as well. But on top of this, this guy brings up a pretty good thing. Why was there a video of the matchmaking saying that it is primarily based upon engagement? Also, why wait a week or 2 to explain it? Because in the post over here, you can see that they're going to be dropping a video next week, is at least what they said, and that video is supposed to be able to tell us more about the insights of this. But if there's no EOMM, why not just say, hey guys, the games aren't rigged, there's no EOMM, your games are just the way they are because you just get bad players. I think that there is something maybe going in the background. I'll give you guys my honest thoughts on this, but I just feel like it's weird that they're going to say like, okay guys, wait till next week. Just say that none of the games are rigged. There's no EOMM. Put it to rest. But what is the actual system? I think that it's good that they're doing that and they're going to show it off, but at the same time, it makes you think, right? It makes you think, what, are they going to just go change up the system within a week and then be like, hey guys, this is our current system right now in the game, but it was rigged all along up until now. If at least it is fixed, if there is any, because I'll talk about my actual thoughts about this in a moment here, but I want to give you guys some kind of background over here. I don't know which is worse, there being EOMM or the matchmaking being so bad that every 5th game is the actual Avengers versus special needs children. And there are times where it feels like this because people are either smurfing in a stack, and they've kind of limited the stacking. If you guys didn't know, they recently changed it, so not that many players can play together, especially as you climb higher in the ranks. When there is a group of like 4 people that are really, really good, yeah, it makes it a lot more difficult for, let's say, the randoms to play, especially at the higher ranks of this game. This is more so a problem for the higher ranks of the game, but again, people can be smurfing in lower ranks, and especially when they're stacking, it's going to feel like that. This person over here, Dora Chi over here posted, and he's talking about like the EOM. Basically, there's a lot of these like patents going around for lots of different video games. It was talking about engagement via neural combination optimization. Again, there's different terminology for it, but this is a NetEase PDF file over here, and it says engagement-oriented matchmaking and match. Okay, so basically there is patents for lots of video games. Even Call of Duty had this patent where it was talking about like some players would do less damage. You're getting rigged in real time, and I want to say Call of Duty is another subject, but at the same time, why would video games patent these things and not use them? It doesn't really make too much sense, but sometimes they just want that patent just so that other games cannot copy it. And while it maybe isn't EOMM or SBMM or any other form of it, it's just, at the end of the day, it's just rigged matchmaking, right? Over here, this is where it gets crazy. I don't really want to talk too much about this because there's something called dynamic difficulty adjustment, which adjusts your difficulty in real time with video games, meaning that if the player loses to something, like this is usually seen in like some single player games and or MMOs, where they would adjust the drop rates depending on the frustration level of the player seen by their playtime. Again, this 100% exists in video games in general. Again, there's been MMOs that actually change the drop rates in real time depending on who's actually playing and what their schedule looks like in the game to keep them, again, optimized, keeping them in the game, keeping them, if they go buy a cash shop item, sometimes the drop rates or the win rate would go up. Now, I'm not saying that that exists in Marvel, but I'm saying that these things 100% exist. It's very open in some video games where they'll tell you the exact drop rates and there's different things to manipulate them, but at the end of the day, this is, I think, a lot worse than EOMM. This is like straight up rigging your damage in video games to give you a win or a loss. But anyways, this other person brings up a good point, and it's kind of the same thing that I was mentioning over here, is that like if it's not EOMM because they can't name it EOMM because it's from like another video game owns that like terminology, they may be tweaking the system and changing it so then they can say, hey, this is actually what the game is. But I'm hoping to see some really good transparency for them to say that it's not EOMM, and it's not even a form of EOMM. Again, I just wish it said that the matchmaking is maybe based on connection, or it is also based on just straight up ranks. But if it's still based on ranks, if you put people together that don't form a good composition, that's a problem too, which we'll talk about briefly over here. But I also want to mention that, like, here's an account over here, this is one of my alts, that, like, I just straight up won pretty much most of the games up until Celestial, right? So with this alone, a lot of people think that you can win to 3 to 5 times, and then you're going to be on a loss streak. So, like, I can definitely argue with both sides, and I'll provide evidence on both sides. So you can see this over here, we won basically every game up until Celestial. At the moment, Celestial was top 500 in this current season, because keep in mind, everyone gets pushed back, right? Or it's in like the top 1%, at least as of right now. But keep in mind, by the time you're watching this video, people do climb, right? But I have actually peaked at 201, but even at the lower ranks over here, here's Overwatch, by the way, like, I play a lot of these games, and I think that you can beat this system. However, there is definitely times in Marvel where I look at the games right here, and I will be like on a 5-win streak, 5-loss streak. But what I find more interesting with Marvel Rivals, in the 5-loss streaks right here, I was SVP every single game, and that's very strange. Is it like these are all right back-to-back games? Again, I would obviously in the lower stages here when you get like pushed back, this is starting off at platinum, the games should be way easier, right? But if I'm winning all of the games in this over here, you guys can see this is all diamond, but if I go back to like this screenshot over here, I could argue that, you know, EOMM doesn't exist. I've won almost every single game up until Celestial from GM, but over here in like diamond, I'm losing games. What's going on here? Is the EOMM just taking over? The EOMM agents are locked in. They're stream sniping me. The thing is that like it just feels very, very strange, right? And I've seen a lot of players post their screenshots of like consistent 3 to 5 in terms of like the wins and loss, and it's like specifically on your rank up games, right? Like when you're winning certain games and you're like, okay, you're right about to hit diamond 2 here because I won a bunch of games over here in diamond 3. This is my rank up right here. I just lose all of them, and then it goes back to the wins. So it's specifically on the rank ups where I feel like there could be even more manipulation. Again, what the design system is in this EOMM or whatever you want to call it, it's mainly that like it is supposed to keep you engaged. Because if you think in your head, oh, I'm like 98, 99 out of 100, I'm like, I'm right there. Oh, I lost. Okay, I'm gonna go keep on playing. That's where it's like, you know, that optimization kicks in. Again, this person's saying that you just copied EOMM and then you're gonna gaslight the community. Your community's not idiots. And I really want to say that at the end of the day, it's not gonna be something that we can definitively see. Hopefully with this we'll see in this next upcoming week, but again, it comes down to a lot of players saying that they 100% exist. Okay, you can't legally say EOMM because Activision owns whatever, okay? But there's a lot of times where people are posting their screenshots and it's like they're just like on a big win streak and then there's just like a big loss streak too. But then I also showed you guys 5 wins, 5 losses. So eventually in any video game, any player can take any sort of screenshot and be like, guys, it exists, guys, it doesn't exist. But this guy was playing on fire over here, but he doesn't have SVP on every single one of these games. So it makes you think, if this guy's doing that hot over here, how is he losing? Is it because he's about to rank up? I don't know. So I want to go ahead and deep dive into it now. And I want to start off the video with these 2 things. No smart gaming company would ever flat out admit and say, yes, our game is rigged. So even if there is, I don't think any gaming company, not just Marvel Rivals, any gaming company would just flat out admit to it. So that's what I want to start off with. And then also, even if there is 0 rigged matchmaking, let's say that there really is no EOMM or SBMM, but obviously in ranked, you have to use skill-based matchmaking. That like kind of actually makes sense. But it's specifically that in quick play, it shouldn't exist, right? That's kind of an argument too that ties into EOMM, SBMM. But as far as quick play goes, what is quick play supposed to do? Just let like one team absolutely dominate another team? At the end of the day, most games, quick play is rigged anyways in the sense where it is doing some sort of ranked system because it uses hidden MMR, right? But even if there is no rigged matchmaking, right, you can't convince those players anyways. Like all the people commenting that would say like the game is rigged, we can definitely tell that there's EOMM, more likely you're not going to convince them anyways. But I've always seen this, like there's players that have been playing League of Legends for, I don't know, 10 plus years and they're stuck in gold and they're like, dude, my team always sucks. After that amount of time in a video game, I want to say that there is some point where you have to think maybe it's actually just you and this is your actual rank. The reason why you eventually hit a 50% win rate in any competitive video game usually comes down to, well, that's your actual rank because that's kind of where you stand in the game. And so I think also, as far as it goes, why not just say no EMM, no rigged matchmaking, and no other form of EOMM? I think that at the end of the day, what's going to come out with this new thing, right? They're going to say something that's related to EOMM, but they're going to try to like be very careful with the wording. That's the reality of what I think is going to happen next week, but we'll wait and see. But I want to go ahead and go into the arguments for EOMM existing or something rigged at all. And it's all really based on feel anyways. There's no hard evidence other than that document, because that document for NetEase games doesn't apply to every game, and that's just the patent. They might not even use that. And there's like this churn rate. Basically, at the end of the day, there is data that somewhat backs it up, but not specifically for Marvel Rival. This is just a paper, right, that exists, that they have the ability to do that in their games if they want to. But I want to say that these are all based on feel, right? Where like you'll win 3 to 5 and then you'll lose 3 to 5 pretty consistently. Again, most people post those screenshots. And then if anyone has games where it's like 50% win rate, like they're posting that screenshot, obviously people will say, well, then there it is, 50% win rate. You win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. So if you take any sort of data eventually with any video game, you can just try to make patterns if you just post those specific screenshots, right? But as far as, again, the EOMM document, there's also streamers at high rank say this. The EOMM Necros is one guy that did mention it, and a lot of streamers have mentioned that, like, oh, dude, yeah, EOMM game, EOMM agent, we lost this game because X, Y, and Z, because this one guy was on the team, but you can obviously just avoid the people. And then lots of people, again, will post pics of their rank ups, and again, it's specifically when you rank up. I think that is definitely something that it does exist in the game. But even at like top 500, you can get people that would go 2 and 10 and they would never actually swap, right? There are times in the game where like someone just does poorly. That just does definitely exist. And then when you're on a lose streak, if you view people's profile, right, they can also be on a loss streak. Is it just a coincidence? So that's something that I do want you guys to consider before like going into these different arguments. But then arguments against the whole idea that EOMM exists, that are like the stronger ones over here, that top 500 players can always reach that rank and you're just bad at the game. There's a lot of people that have mentioned this, saying that the people that complain about EOMM they're just bad players. And a lot of times if you like view their profile, they'll like kind of make fun of them. But I don't really want to go into that, because in general, I would say that even if someone has the, bad playstyle or makes like a bad move in a video game, you can pick and cherry pick all of like the clips from even really high ranked players. But the thing is that eventually those players that are, I would say, at least GM or even Celestial Plus, they can usually achieve that rank again and again. They can make a brand new account. And if the game is forcing you 50% win rate, then how would they get it multiple times, right? And then also, I want to say that the reality is the games are a +% chance to win. And what I think is interesting with this whole point is Overwatch even tells you this, right? If anyone has played Overwatch and you win games, it has this little thing that goes up at the very end, right? And what I find very interesting is Marvel Rivals is essentially kind of a copy of Overwatch, right? In terms of like the game, like, genre, or if you want to say Team Fortress 2 did it first. At the end of the day, the main thing that I want you to take away from this when you're playing Overwatch was like when you would get these rank up points at the very end, right? What is that expected thing? This is for ranked, right? How do you give me less points because you expected me to win the game, and then also on calibration? So you think that I'm a higher rank than what I'm playing at, so you're going to give me more points, but you're going to take away points because you expected me to win. And because this exists still today in Overwatch, I want to say that there is definitely some manipulation that goes on in a lot of video games. It's not just Marvel Rivals. But you cannot tell me that a ranked game system would give you a match where they expect you to win or lose at the start of the game and give you points based off of that. I totally get if someone is performing good, right? They're like, okay, this player is doing really well, let's get him some extra points so he's out of this rank. But to give you less points because they're like, bro, we expect you to win the ranking, that is straight up rigged at the start, right? So to consider this over here, you normally think, okay, Team A over here has a 50% chance to win and Team B has a 50% chance to win. That's not actually what's going on in a lot of video games. What happens is there's Team A has a 40% chance to win and Team B has a 60%. And again, this is just the game system thinking that, okay, this guy's win rate, how is he performing today, what heroes work well. But I also think that there is something that goes on in the background where a lot of these games that I'm losing, it's like at the start, right? And I'm sure some of you guys experience this with specifically with like just locking it into 4 DPS, and then you're like, well, I can play one tank or one support, I can't really fix this team, right? But sometimes if you pick one, they'll kind of start shifting over. But the main thing that I want to think about is also the win rate chance based on the roles that are given. This is actually something that's even bigger. So I feel like some games are rigged literally at the start, where like if you have 2-2-2, like if people are willing to flex and play the 2-2-2 comp versus if you get 6 players that only play support or 6 players that only play DPS, who do you think is going to win? Obviously, there is some sort of rigged at the start of the game because the game knows what kind of roles that you like to play. And I think that they can set the game up to have a win-loss not on just your character pick rate, but also the role that you play. I think that's pretty big. But I want to go ahead and wrap up this video now because it's kind of long, but I wanted to also just go over my personal opinion. I think it would be stupid if any video game company didn't have any ways to try to keep players playing any video game. And I want to also stress this, that games nowadays are all shaped by investors and algorithms, where it's not just pure a passion project and it's just a gamer making the game without some sort of person that doesn't even play video games kind of influencing the video game. The reality is that you have these investors that are like, how are you going to make me money? How are you going to keep players interested? And they may have to introduce things like EOMM where they say, and I'm not saying this exists, I'm just saying in general with video games these days, that there's a lot of investors that say, we want you to make it so players that buy more skins in the video game, they win more, because I want to encourage them to buy more skins, therefore give them the ability to want to play this game more. That can exist in some video games, right? But that's the main thing that I think that is something that would never come out, because they would keep this hush-hush anyways, right? Like, no video game is going to be like, yeah, you buy more skins, you're going to win more. Because I know that this was a topic in Call of Duty for a while. But again, games are definitely shaped by investors, 100%, and algorithms. But I think the biggest offenders that contribute to this that are not EOMM are going to be things that like are people coming back to the game. There's always going to be smurfs, there's people playing on alts, there's boosters, people that try out new heroes, like for example, like, you know, Blade just came out. If there's a Jeff or Rocket in top 500 or a very high rank, and they're like, okay, I want to try Blade today, he's the new character, obviously you're going to be losing. So there's a lot of games where they're shifted in that direction because like that person just wants to play that hero. And I want to say that if you are good enough, you can still always beat the system, even if the game is like, here's like a 50% you know, win rate game, that would be equal, but maybe that you're on like the 40% chance to win. They think that the other team is better, but you can still outskill it 100%. But at some point, you're definitely going to feel like the game is impossible. And that's normal with any hero-based game or just games in general. But I think favored games do exist. I think that there is definitely a higher predicted chance at winning before the game even starts. So if you're wondering, do I believe in EOMM? Because this was tweeted out last night, I was streaming Marvel Rivals, and some people are like, dude, what do you think about that tweet? And again, I would say personally that there is some sort of back end for things existing to an extent. Now, I would say it's never going to be 100%, but there is almost no way that you can put people into the game and say 100% there is going to be a 50-50 on this game. It's impossible because the way that people swap characters, or one person can say something that tilts another player to make them throw, there's a lot of these things that like simply cannot be factored in, and they can't just know that info before the game even starts, because maybe one person's like, I really hate if anyone plays Jeff on my team, and they're like, if there's a Jeff player, I'm throwing the game. Some people are just like that. It doesn't matter how high you are in rank, because I showed you guys, you know, some of the like screenshots. Even in Overwatch, you'll get people that are like, I only play Life Weaver, I'm doing unranked to GM playing this character. And that's the same thing with Marvel Rivals. Like, you can have those players, even at the highest rank, they just straight up throw, they play characters that definitely they shouldn't be playing. But I think one solution to actually fix this is just add a permanent avoid system. If there's a player that is so bad that like I never want to see or play with this player because they're either toxic, they never want to swap up, they go 2 and 10 in Spider-Man, and they have an ego, and it's just like a not fun experience, why not just have a permanent avoid list, like no limit? Now, I understand some people are going to have the mindset of, well, if you just avoid everyone, you're never going to get a game. Well, good, then that's fine. Let the player avoid as many players as they want, and that could be on them if they can't get a game, right? But there are so many times where if I avoid someone, I never want to see them again, like ever. And so I'm curious to know how you guys feel about this as a solution. I think this is a great solution, because if I feel like there is an EOMM agent on the enemy team, I'm going to have the mindset of, I never want this person on my team again. If there's a guy that's going 2 on 10 on Adam Morlock, yeah, I never want that player on my team again. So that is one thing that I wish that would exist. Maybe it resets on every single season, but I think that like the avoid list of 3 is not enough. I mean, I want to put all of the 2 and 10 Spider-Mans and all the players that do absolutely terrible on that avoid list. The thing is that if someone avoids someone, they more than likely never want that player on their team again. And that's how I personally see it. But again, you guys can let me know how you feel about it. But anyways, I just want to give my 2 cents on it, because it was kind of something that I think is a really cool subject to talk about, as I want to see what they come out with in a week. But anyways, if you guys want to see an update to that or more Marvel Rival stuff and you're new here, subscribe to the bell and you'll definitely see more. But like I said, let me know your thoughts. I obviously believe there's some form of it. But anyways, take care, guys. Peace out.